We live in a world where personal boundaries are constantly shifting and evolving, but one thing remains timeless: the power of self-awareness and personal autonomy. As women, we are often taught to be open, nurturing, and expressive. But there's a quiet strength in knowing when to keep certain things private, things that are deeply personal, intimate, and sacred to our being. Today, I want to talk about the importance of what women must keep private, things that should never be shared with a man, no matter how close the relationship. It's not about secrecy or being guarded. It's about embracing your inner strength, your worth, and the power that comes with holding space for yourself. Let's explore how empowering it can be to maintain that sacred boundary and why it is crucial for our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. This isn't just about protecting your privacy. It's about claiming your space in this world unapologetically. Self-worth is one of the most valuable and personal aspects of any individual's identity. It's the foundation of how we perceive ourselves and the level of respect we give to our own emotions, experiences, and choices. The truth is, self-worth isn't something that can be determined by external validation or by other people's opinions. It's built from within, through the understanding of our intrinsic value and the ability to protect the parts of ourselves that are most sacred. One of the most powerful ways to nurture this self-worth is by honoring the concept of privacy. Privacy in this context isn't just about keeping certain information from others. It's about recognizing the spaces within our hearts and minds that need protection for us to maintain our dignity, autonomy, and confidence. The act of keeping certain things private is not about building walls or creating barriers between ourselves and others. Rather, it's about preserving the purity of our inner world. It's about protecting the elements of our identity that are too fragile to be exposed to the pressures, judgments, and opinions of others. When women choose to keep aspects of their lives private, they are not only protecting their emotional and psychological well-being, but also affirming their own worth. In a world that often demands full transparency and constant sharing, understanding the value of privacy can be one of the most empowering acts a woman can engage in. Our self-worth is often tested in the interactions we have with others. Society continuously pushes for us to be open, to share, and to be vulnerable. These traits, though valuable in building intimacy and connection, can also leave us exposed. The problem arises when we confuse openness with self-exploitation. Not every thought, feeling, or experience needs to be shared. Not every intimate detail about our past, our insecurities, or our hopes for the future should be available to the world. When we give too much of ourselves away, we run the risk of losing a sense of control over our own narrative. This is where the importance of privacy becomes evident. By carefully choosing what to reveal and what to keep to ourselves, we reinforce our sense of self-worth. We remind ourselves that we have the right to withhold certain aspects of our lives for our own protection. When women withhold their most private thoughts and feelings from others, it doesn't mean they are being secretive or dishonest. Instead, they are exercising their right to set boundaries. These boundaries are not meant to isolate or alienate, but to ensure that only those who truly respect and value them can gain access to their inner world. The practice of keeping certain things private is an act of discernment. It's the ability to recognize that not everyone deserves to know the innermost parts of your being. This awareness allows women to avoid situations where they might be vulnerable to manipulation or emotional harm. It also empowers them to protect their hearts from the negative energy that others may project onto them. Self-worth begins with recognizing the importance of these boundaries and the inner strength it takes to enforce them. In relationships, whether personal or professional, women often find themselves in situations where they are expected to divulge more than they are comfortable with. The pressure to share, to be transparent, can be overwhelming, especially when society praises those who are open and vulnerable. Yet vulnerability should not come at the cost of one's dignity. Privacy in this sense is not about withholding truth or hiding emotions. It's about choosing when and with whom to share. It's about understanding that our value doesn't depend on how much we reveal, but rather on how we protect and preserve the parts of ourselves that matter most. By holding certain parts of ourselves sacred and private, we affirm that our worth is not something that is for others to define, judge, or control. The decision to keep certain aspects of our lives private is an essential step in building emotional resilience. It's a reminder that our emotions, experiences, and vulnerabilities belong to us and are not commodities for others to consume. By exercising discretion in what we share and what we keep to ourselves, we build a sense of ownership over our feelings and experiences. This ownership is fundamental to our emotional health. When we share everything, we risk becoming overexposed and emotionally drained. But when we protect the most sensitive aspects of ourselves, we strengthen our ability to cope with life's challenges. We create a space for healing and growth without the interference of outside influences. The concept of privacy is not just about safeguarding one's emotional health. It's also about fostering self-reliance. The more we depend on others for validation, the more we place our worth in their hands. Privacy allows us to cultivate an inner sense of confidence that is not contingent on others' approval or opinions. By withholding certain parts of ourselves from the scrutiny of others, we can build a stronger relationship with ourselves. We stop relying on external sources of validation and begin to trust our own instincts, judgments, and perceptions. In doing so, we reclaim our power and reaffirm our value. The more we value our privacy, the more we value ourselves. Privacy also plays a significant role in maintaining our mental well-being. In today's hyper-connected world, it's easy to get lost in the noise of social media, constant messaging, and the demands of modern life. We often feel compelled to share every moment, every thought, and every accomplishment. Yet, in doing so, we can lose a sense of ourselves. The constant exposure to the opinions and judgments of others can leave us feeling empty, anxious, and disconnected. Privacy offers a refuge from this constant barrage of information. It creates space for introspection, self-care, and personal growth. In the quiet moments of solitude, away from the pressures of external expectations, we can reconnect with who we truly are. This practice of maintaining privacy allows us to nurture our mental health and keep our sense of self intact. Moreover, privacy fosters a sense of dignity. There is something inherently dignified about choosing what parts of our lives we wish to reveal and what we choose to keep private. It is an assertion of our right to control our own story. When we allow others to dictate what we should or should not reveal, we relinquish control over our own narrative. However, when we decide for ourselves what to share, we stand in our power. We send a message to the world that we are worthy of respect and that our lives are not open for public consumption. This act of self-respect is deeply connected to our self-worth. The more we protect our privacy, the more we honor our own sense of dignity. In relationships with men, this dynamic is particularly important. Society often expects women to be open and vulnerable in ways that may not always serve their best interests. The pressure to share deeply personal details can lead to feelings of exploitation or emotional manipulation. By recognizing the importance of privacy, women can navigate these relationships with greater discernment. They can maintain a sense of autonomy and avoid situations where they may feel pressured to divulge more than they are comfortable with. Protecting one's privacy is not about rejecting intimacy or connection, but about ensuring that those connections are based on mutual respect and understanding. Ultimately, self-worth is a reflection of how we treat ourselves. It is built on the choices we make about how we engage with the world and how we protect ourselves from harm. Privacy is not about creating distance or isolation. It's about creating space for self-reflection, healing, and growth. It is about recognizing that we are worthy of respect, not just from others, but from ourselves. By valuing our privacy, we are asserting our right to define our own identity, to protect our emotional well-being, and to preserve the aspects of ourselves that are most sacred. In doing so, we not only protect our worth, but we also build the foundation for a life filled with the concept of inner strength. It's something that resonates deeply with every individual. Though it often goes unrecognized or misunderstood, inner strength is not about physical resilience or external achievements. It is an intrinsic, intangible force that comes from within. It's the ability to withstand emotional turbulence, to face adversity with grace, and to remain grounded despite external pressures. It is the mental and emotional fortitude that allows us to navigate life's challenges while maintaining a sense of self and purpose. Guarding this inner strength is not just important, it is essential. When we protect and nurture our inner strength, we empower ourselves in ways that directly fuel our confidence and enable us to live life with a greater sense of security and self-assurance. In the context of personal growth, the relationship between inner strength and confidence is deeply intertwined. Confidence is often seen as an outward expression of self-assurance, but it is in reality the result of a well-guarded and well-nurtured inner strength. Confidence comes from a deep understanding of our abilities, values, and boundaries. It's rooted in the knowledge that we are capable of overcoming challenges, dealing with uncertainty, and making decisions that align with our highest good. Without inner strength, confidence is fragile. It's easily shaken by doubt, criticism, or external circumstances. But when we actively guard and protect our inner strength, we create a firm foundation upon which confidence can grow and flourish. One of the key ways to guard inner strength is by learning to set boundaries. Boundaries are often thought of as walls that keep others out, but they are also the protective lines that preserve our mental, emotional, and spiritual resources. The more we allow others to encroach upon our personal space, whether that's physical, emotional, or psychological, the more we risk depleting our inner strength. Every time we let someone overstep our boundaries without consequence, we weaken our sense of self and diminish our confidence. Guarding our inner strength requires us to establish clear boundaries with others and hold firm to them. This means saying no when necessary, being assertive about our needs, and not allowing others to take more than we are willing to give. When we protect our energy in this way, we preserve the resources needed to fuel our confidence. Another way to guard inner strength is by maintaining emotional resilience. Life is full of challenges, and it is easy to become overwhelmed by the stresses of everyday life. Yet emotional resilience is an essential component of inner strength. We cultivate emotional resilience by developing the ability to process emotions without letting them control us. This might involve practices such as mindfulness, self-reflection, or talking to trusted friends or therapists. By protecting our emotional well-being, we build a stronger sense of self, which directly feeds into our confidence. When we know we have the ability to handle difficult situations, we become more confident in our capacity to navigate life's challenges. Inner strength is also about maintaining a strong sense of self-worth, and part of guarding this inner strength involves recognizing and rejecting negativity. Whether it comes from the outside world or from within, negativity can erode our sense of self and weaken our inner strength. The opinions and judgments of others can be particularly damaging, especially if we internalize them and allow them to shape our self-permute. When we guard our inner strength, we learn to distance ourselves from negative influences that seek to diminish our self-worth. This could involve distancing ourselves from toxic relationships, avoiding environments that drain our energy, or learning to let go of self-critical thoughts. The more we protect ourselves from negativity, the more we reinforce our sense of value, which strengthens our confidence. Confidence grows when we stop allowing external forces to dictate how we feel about ourselves. Furthermore, the ability to guard inner strength is deeply linked to self-compassion. Self-compassion is the practice of treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and understanding that we would offer to a close friend. It involves acknowledging our imperfections without judgment and accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. When we guard our inner strength, we do so by practicing self-compassion, which protects us from the harshness of self-criticism. In a world that often promotes perfectionism and external validation, it is easy to fall into the trap of constantly striving to meet unrealistic standards. But self-compassion allows us to accept ourselves. We stop relying on others to fill the gaps in our self-esteem, and we begin to recognize the power that comes from self-acceptance. Moreover, guarding inner strength requires us to protect our time and energy. We live in a society that places great demands on our time, and it can be easy to become overwhelmed by the constant pressure to perform, achieve, and be present for others. However, when we spread ourselves too thin, we risk depleting our inner strength. The more we give of ourselves without considering our own needs, the more our emotional and mental resources become drained. To guard our inner strength, we must learn to prioritize ourselves and our well-being. This may involve carving out time for rest, engaging in activities that nourish our souls, and saying no to commitments that don't align with our values. When we protect our time and energy in this way, we ensure that we have the capacity to care for ourselves and nurture our confidence. By taking control of our time, we reclaim our power and reinforce the belief that we are worthy of our own attention and care. Guarding inner strength also requires us to maintain a sense of purpose and direction. Having a clear sense of purpose gives us the resilience to face adversity, knowing that we are working towards something meaningful. Without purpose, it becomes easy to feel lost or disconnected, and this can diminish our sense of inner strength. Confidence flourishes when we have a clear understanding of who we are and what we want out of life. When we guard our inner strength by staying connected to our sense of purpose, we remain grounded and focused no matter what challenges arise. Purpose provides the fuel to keep moving forward, even in the face of setbacks, and it reminds us that our efforts are meaningful and worthwhile. This clarity of purpose, in turn, fortifies our confidence, helping us to navigate life's uncertainties with a sense of conviction and self-assurance. Another important aspect of guarding inner strength is the practice of self-care. Self-care is often seen as a luxury, something that can be put off or ignored when life gets busy. However, taking care of ourselves is not a selfish act. It is a necessary practice for maintaining inner strength. Self-care involves nurturing our bodies, minds, and spirits in ways that recharge and rejuvenate us. It might include physical activities that promote health and well-being, mental exercises that improve focus and clarity, or spiritual practices that cultivate peace and balance. When we make self-care a priority, we protect our inner strength and ensure that we have the energy and resources to face life's challenges. In doing so, we create a solid foundation for our confidence to grow. Confidence thrives when we take the time to care for ourselves and replenish the resources we need to succeed. Ultimately, guarding inner strength is a dynamic process that requires ongoing effort and intention. It is not something that can be achieved overnight, nor is it something that can be taken for granted. Just as we protect our physical health through exercise and nourishment, we must also safeguard our emotional and mental well-being by setting boundaries, cultivating resilience, practicing self-compassion, and prioritizing our time and energy. When we guard our inner strength in this way, we create a sense of stability and self-assurance that fuels our confidence. Confidence is not something that comes from external validation or praise. It is the natural result of a well-guarded and nurtured inner strength. By protecting our inner, we empower ourselves to face life with courage, resilience, and the unwavering belief that we are capable of achieving greatness. There is a unique and profound power in keeping sacred secrets, a power that is often overlooked in a world that values transparency, openness, and vulnerability. Sacred secrets are not the trivial or mundane details of life, but rather the deeply personal, intimate parts of ourselves that are too sacred to share with others. These are the thoughts, experiences, emotions, and truths that, for various reasons, need to be protected. They are the quiet pieces of our souls that, if exposed too soon or to the wrong people, could be misunderstood, exploited, or simply lost in the noise of the world. There is an unspoken strength in holding these secrets close to our hearts, a strength that not only preserves our integrity, but also reinforces our sense of self. The act of keeping sacred secrets is often seen as a form of restraint or control, but it is much more than that. It is an expression of self-respect and emotional sovereignty. When we choose to keep certain aspects of our lives private, we assert our right to protect our personal narrative from the prying eyes of others. In a society where people are often encouraged to share every detail of their lives, on social media, in relationships, or even in casual conversations, the decision to keep something sacred is a radical act of autonomy. It is an affirmation that there are parts of us that are non-negotiable, that we are not obliged to expose ourselves for the sake of connection, and that our worth is not dependent on how much we reveal. One of the most important aspects of keeping sacred secrets is the recognition of their sacredness. There is a profound difference between withholding information out of fear or shame and choosing to keep something private because it holds deep meaning and significance for us. Sacred secrets are not about hiding the truth or being deceitful. They are about recognizing the importance of what needs to be preserved for our own well-being. By keeping something sacred, we protect it from the outside world, ensuring that it remains untarnished by the opinions or judgments of others. This protection, in turn, nurtures our self-worth. The more we value these secrets, the more we affirm that we are worthy of preserving our innermost thoughts and feelings. In many ways, the act of keeping sacred secrets is a form of self-care. It allows us to maintain a sense of control over our personal narrative. There are moments in life when we may feel vulnerable or exposed, and the temptation to share everything can be overwhelming. However, by choosing not to share certain parts of ourselves, we are protecting our emotional boundaries. This act of protection allows us to preserve our sense of self without compromising it for the sake of acceptance or validation. In this way, sacred secrets become a source of emotional strength. They provide us with a buffer against the external pressures that seek to define us, enabling us to remain grounded in our true essence. The power in keeping sacred secrets also lies in the ability to maintain control over our personal energy. In a world that often encourages oversharing, we can become emotionally depleted by constantly giving pieces of ourselves to others. When we share too much, we risk losing our sense of self or feeling exposed to manipulation. By keeping certain secrets close, we maintain an emotional reserve that can be drawn upon when needed. This reserve is vital for our emotional well-being as it allows us to recharge and reflect without the interference of others' opinions or expectations. The act of guarding our sacred secrets ensures that we are not overextended emotionally and that we remain in control of our personal energy. Furthermore, keeping sacred secrets often involves the practice of discernment, knowing who is worthy of hearing our most intimate truths and when the time is right to share them. Not everyone deserves to know the deepest parts of us, and not every relationship or situation is the right context for revealing sacred secrets. By choosing wisely who we share our secrets with, we preserve their integrity and protect ourselves from the risk of betrayal or misunderstanding. This practice of discernment strengthens our emotional intelligence and helps us cultivate relationships that are built on mutual respect and trust rather than on the expectation of full disclosure. It is in the careful sharing rather than the indiscriminate spilling that we create the space for deeper, more meaningful connections. There is also a powerful sense of freedom in keeping sacred secrets. The more we protect the things that are most precious to us, the less we feel the need to seek validation from others. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion about what is right or wrong, what is appropriate or inappropriate, keeping sacred secrets allows us to free ourselves from the external judgments that often shape our choices. We no longer feel the pressure to conform to societal expectations or the need to prove ourselves through constant self-disclosure. Instead, we are liberated to live authentically without feeling obligated to share every aspect of our lives with others. This freedom is empowering as it reinforces the belief that our value is not dependent on how much we reveal to the world. Keeping sacred secrets also provides a sense of emotional and psychological protection. In the course of our lives, we all encounter moments of vulnerability, times when we may feel exposed, misunderstood, or judged. These moments can leave lasting emotional scars if we are not careful with how we handle our own truth. When we hold sacred secrets, we create a shield around our most sensitive aspects. This shield allows us to move through the world without feeling emotionally vulnerable to every criticism or opinion that comes our way. It offers us a safe space in which we can process our thoughts and emotions without fear of them being misinterpreted or used against us. By guarding these secrets, we protect our emotional health and ensure that we have the space to heal, grow, and evolve without the constant scrutiny of others. Additionally, keeping sacred secrets allows us to develop a deep sense of self-trust. When we hold something sacred, we are not just protecting it from the outside world, we are also affirming our ability to care for and honor it. This act of self-trust reinforces our belief in our own judgment and our capacity to make decisions that are in alignment with our values. Trusting ourselves to keep certain things private nurtures our sense of inner security. It reminds us that we have the power to determine what is worth sharing and what is better left to the sanctity of our own hearts and minds. As we strengthen this trust, we become more confident in our ability to navigate the world with integrity and authenticity. In relationships, keeping sacred secrets can also be a sign of respect. When we choose to withhold certain aspects of our lives, we are making a statement about what we hold dear. We are communicating that there are parts of us that are not meant to be shared with everyone, and that this is not a reflection of our lack of openness, but rather of our deep respect for the things that matter most. By keeping sacred secrets, we maintain the integrity of our relationships as we create a space where trust and respect are prioritized over transparency or the need to disclose everything. This balance is essential for building healthy, long-lasting relationships that are based on mutual understanding rather than on the pressure to be fully exposed. The power of keeping sacred secrets also lies in the way it fosters personal growth. When we guard our most intimate truths, we create the space necessary for reflection and self-discovery. The act of keeping something sacred requires introspection. It forces us to engage with our own thoughts and feelings in a more profound way. This engagement leads to greater self-awareness as we begin to understand why certain aspects of our lives are too important to share and why we must protect them. In this process of reflection, we uncover deeper truths about ourselves that can guide us in making decisions that align with our true values. As we continue to honor and protect our sacred secrets, we deepen our connection to our inner selves and grow into the individuals we are meant to be. In conclusion, there is a quiet strength and an undeniable power in keeping sacred secrets. By choosing to guard our most intimate truths, we affirm our autonomy, protect our emotional well-being, and create space for personal growth and reflection. Sacred secrets are not meant to be hidden out of shame or fear, but are instead preserved out of respect for ourselves and the things that matter most. They provide us with emotional protection, psychological freedom, and the confidence to navigate the world on our own terms. In keeping them sacred, we cultivate the strength to remain true to ourselves without being swayed by external pressures or the need for validation. Ultimately, the power of keeping sacred secrets is the power to remain whole and undisturbed, to live authentically, and to honor the things that are most precious to us.